So it was exciting times in 2011 when Tahrir Square was up in arms, and I had to run this Joint Commission accredited hospital in Cairo. Some of our units across UAE and other countries, they're all called Astor hospitals. This is the Middle East's first Joint Commission accredited diagnostic center called Medinova. The pharmacy chain got rebranded, and it's more patterned into the UK Boots. It's more than a pharmacy where you get OTC product, lifestyle products, everything is accessible in these units. That's a Medcare hospital. It's designed to be a boutique orthopedic center called Mosh, which is in Dubai. These are Astor hospitals in the Sultanate of Oman. I heard from Dr. Rajiv and Dr. Vidya about their legacy in Oman. Beautiful country in the Middle East. We have units both in Muscat and Sohar, both primary care and hospitals. And I know from third-party feedback that this is perceived to be one of the top private hospitals in that country. In Qatar, we are also into primary. We are also putting up a new multi-speciality hospital soon in Qatar. The India strategy, we have focused, though we sense an opportunity in northern India, but for legacy factors of the market, we have strategically decided south because of the DNA of the company will be predominantly in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Gujarat from a Western point of view. At this point of time, we are quite strong in Kerala. We have just entered Maharashtra with units in Pune and Kolhapur. We are looking at putting up a unit in Mumbai. We will announce on a huge project coming up in Bangalore. We're also looking at some possibilities in Hyderabad. So that will be a strong presence in India. The big picture is to have a 5,000-bed hospital chain within the next 2 to 3 years in India. So you can see the existing units both in Kerala and Maharashtra. The units in north of Kerala are under the brand MIMS. We will not change the name MIMS because of the strong brand recall value. It will be having a tagline, a unit of Astor DM Healthcare. But the unit which I am directly responsible for in Kochi is called Astor Medicity, which is a flagship venture of this group. Then you have the units coming up in Maharashtra. So that's my baby. All of you should come to Kochi, God's own country. So that's where I sit in. It's an amazing project where I have to pinch myself every day when I go from home to office because it's just quite stunning. You have the Periyar River right in front of you. 1 kilometer riverfront campus of this hospital. You have the Chinese fishing nets. And we have this delicacy called curry mean, which is very popular fish back in Kochi. You can just go down and if you're fond of fishing, you could catch a fish too. Just 2 minutes. So quickly run through these projects. So that's the other units. That's MIMS, Calicut. We also have a medical college in Wayanad. It's above the cloud levels, nestled in the Western Ghats. The second batch of medical students are now in the process of getting admitted. The first batch was 150 students. That's the foundation of the group called the Dr. Mopins Foundation. We sponsor activities across the world. This picture shows 50 cardiac surgeries of this foundation, which was done on a completely free of cost in Philippines. We have recently also launched a similar scheme in Afghanistan for needy children of Afghanistan. So these are the global activities of this foundation. The key success factors, like Dr. Rajiv mentioned, is, I suppose, to be the right person in the right place at the right time to sense the right opportunity. So I suppose that's the key success, the key mantra for success for the group. A quick view about MedCity. So that's where the hospital is located. We have 40 acres of campus. That's the entire project. It's not just a hospital. You have a convention center, you have a hotel, and you have a township on site for 10,000 people. So that's a huge project, which is MedCity. We are quite accessible to the Cochin International Airport, 11 kilometers from Marine Drive. It's built, this is something interesting from an Indian scenario. The land in which we are right now was a municipal dumping yard. The Cochin City Corporation used to use this land as a landfill, and the river used to be terribly polluted. And you can see the transformation of this property, that the dump yard has been converted into a hospital. So the villages where we are located are the most fortunate, I would say. 18% of my employees are from my village called Cheranallur. So whether it's direct employees or indirect employees are from there. We are also responsible for their health. So we have launched a health scheme for the BPL families in the village. Whether it's tertiary care or primary care, we are fully responsible for that. The design is talking about to get LEED certification. We are designed to be LEED Gold certified once the project is fully commissioned. We have also 9 centers of excellence in one campus. Overall, these 9 centers of excellence are not just the name of departments. To give you an idea of orthopedics, if you look at orthopedics, we have all the subspecialties, whether it's arthroplasty, hip, knee joint, ankle joint, sports medicine, shoulder, elbow, wrist joint, your spine, ortho, oncology, ortho, pediatrics, everything is covered. So the way the project is designed is to have one-shop window for healthcare. Again, we have succeeded in reversal of brain drain. If personally, my mom and dad, they live in Trivandrum, they're senior citizens. I was always looking at coming back home to India. But to have such a project really encouraged me to come back home. So I would say that I'm the first example of reversal of brain drain in this project. Most of my doctors have come from the best centers in UK, US, Australia, New Zealand. So not just doctors, it's also nurses. We have seen a large amount of Indian nurses across the world and from other cities in India coming back because of such kind of projects. So we have many technology firsts. We would be India's first hospital to introduce the pharmacy robot. We are the first hospital in Kerala to introduce the Da Vinci robotic system. We've got lots of technological USPs in this project to make it really special. The vision of this project is to effectively compete with partners in, I would say, countries in Southeast Asia. You can imagine because of geography, a lot of patients from West Asia currently go to Taiwan. We feel that a project like this will really encourage more of these patients to skip going to Southeast Asia and to come down south to southern part of India. Why India is special? We all know that we're unbelievable cost, the quality of care, the sheer expertise which Indian doctors have is unparalleled worldwide. So if we get these ingredients together and market ourselves well, we can be a huge player for medical value travel. India is obviously sought out for these disease clusters. In terms of costing, we have pretty cost competitive, not only for OECD countries, but also for Southeast Asia. In terms of savings, maximum savings in India. And in terms of quality, absolutely, there is no going back. To add to Dr. Rajiv's presentation today morning, I would say a huge game changer in the Indian healthcare scenario is our NABH. The quality system of India, NABH is on par with the best in the world, whether it's the Joint Commission, the Australian standards, and that has really given a huge boost for quality assurance system and also benefiting consumers.
Distinguished dignitaries, faculty members, and the delegates for this conference. It is indeed my pleasure to be here today. What I'd like to discuss in this brief presentation is I will take you around to the healthcare scenario in the country, talk of pharmaceutical market, and then I will talk of successful healthcare models, pharma models, which are there in the healthcare industry. If we see healthcare market and talk is healthcare market in India is the sunrise market. It is at inflection point. It is undergoing fundamental change. And if I look today's Jeff Melt, GE chairman statement, what will make difference in the healthcare in this country is the entrepreneur energy, which Rajiv referred to in the beginning of his keynote address. I will focus on some of the areas. In fact, pharma industry is the classical example and has put India on the healthcare map of the world. If we look at over the years, the economy, the way it has moved around, in the past, we used to say, roti, kapda, makan, that is important. From today's and tomorrow's point of view, it is shiksha, it is sehat, it is sadak, which is very, very important. So what is going to be important as far as future of this country is concerned is education, it is healthcare, and it is infrastructure. And we are very fortunate here who are there in this group here, sitting here in this conference. We are discussing the basic issues of healthcare, and we will see the next decade, there will be fundamental changes which will emerge as far as healthcare is concerned. I, being in the part of various government bodies, part of OPPI, I will throw some of the insights there and try to put this healthcare infrastructure forward. If we look at the healthcare market, and these are broad figures, this is just to set the tone of this presentation. The market is around $79 billion market. It's Frost and Sullivan work. Three critical sectors of this market is healthcare services, pharma and nutrition, medical equipment, and infrastructure, 19%. Direct employment by this sector is around 4 million. And this is the fastest growing sector of the economy. This is what has put India on the map in the world. And with the combination of IT and healthcare, we can be a formidable force going forward. Over the years, the market has grown up around 29%. At the moment, $79 billion market will rise to $158 billion in 2017. This is Frost and Sullivan estimates. But those who are involved in the healthcare industry, the market is explode, and it will depend on the entrepreneurial power unleashed with the policies in the government. Because last 2 years, yes, the growth of the market has been impacted. But what will be critical to unleash this power? And that's why in many of the policy planning forums with various governments, what we have been talking is we have to take the policy paralysis out, and India can be a powerful factor as far as unleashing the power of the sector is concerned. And fundamentally, also it is important that health is fundamental to the nation and to unleash the potential of the nation. Because wherever you see worldwide, wherever healthcare parameters are right, it unleashes the potential of the nation. If we look at, these figures are very startling, our healthcare expenditure, I'm not talking of developed countries of the world where we are part of it, I'm not talking of US, UK, compared to even neighboring countries and smaller countries, our healthcare expenditure are lowest as far as the government expenditure is concerned. Total healthcare expenditure is in India is 4.2% of the GDP, 132 in real terms. Government expenditure is only 1.2%, although the manifesto of every party is talking today around 2.5 to 3% expenditure. Expenditure is very, very important because unless we invest in healthcare, the economy cannot grow. Because when I started my career in 1977, passing out from IIM Ahmedabad, government infrastructure was in better health. But unfortunately, today, the infrastructure has deteriorated a hell of a lot over a period of time. And the critical question is, how do we first increase the expenditure on healthcare? 4 P's of marketing we used to talk about, but all very, very relevant. If we have to transform healthcare, the product has to lead to solution, and there will be a lot of examples which I will be giving. Place and access is very, very important. In fact, right in the beginning, Rajiv talked about it. Affordable, accessible, and available healthcare is very, very important. In fact, we in Abbott talk of democratizing healthcare in this country, making sure that healthcare is available to the masses when they need it. And so the goal is immense, but that is fundamental. And price, instead of we focus too much only on the pricing part, but value becomes very, very important. And if we see today's work which Porter has done, redefining healthcare, which is a landmark book which he has published, we have to go on value. And there can be fundamental changes, and I will give off some of the future healthcare models which are emerging, which are focusing on value instead of just cost, 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 because that's the framework which we look. We talk only of cost, but we forget value, which is very, very important in the context of healthcare. And I will give it example with the example of some of the models which are emerging. And instead of promotion, partnerships. And it will become very, very important, the kind of partnership we develop. Because in healthcare, it's all about partnerships. It is public-private partnership. It is partnership between different sectors of the industry. And the classical example of partnership, government partnerships and private partnership, has been EMRI, Emergency Medical Relief Services, which have been started from Hyderabad, and the example of Piramas quoted earlier in the part of the presentation. And we will see a lot of partnership which will be emerging in the field of healthcare. If we see pharma market is showing around 12% growth. In size term, it is around $12 billion. But the prices of the pharma products is around 125th average price of the world market. So although we are 4th largest, we are 15th largest market in terms of value, but in terms of pricing, in terms of volume, we are the 4th largest market in the world. And India is rightly described in the world as the pharmacy of the world. So the critical thing is, yes, in terms of value, we are 15, but in terms of volume, is fourth. So one of the myths which is there is, are the Indian products prices high? Certainly not. But the question is, how do we make sure that it is delivered to the masses? And that's why the healthcare infrastructure becomes very alone, which is important. It is how do we make those medicines available to the masses, and how do we make this infrastructure available to the masses. The market is highly cluttered. It is the most competitive market in the world. We have got 20,000 companies. Top 10 companies account for 42% share. It's still acute care market compared to many markets of the world. And we have got 600,000 as far as serving this market is concerned. Over the years, the pharma market has developed hell of a lot. In 1980s, it was 20% Indian companies, 80% multinational companies. But today, the whole system has reversed. Indian companies have played a very, very important process patent. Indian companies like Dr. Reddy's set up their own manufacturing plant, and today we are the lowest cost producers in the world. 2005, when the patent era has come in, yes, there are a lot of issues of patent which are being talked about, but it is evolving thing as far as the market is concerned. Now, the next decade is a very important decade. This decade is very, very important, where we will not be only the pharmacy of the world, but perhaps I will start seeing a lot of innovations taking place from India, and that is the place where the world will take place. If we see the disease profile in India, previously in 2000, profile, it is heart disease, depression, which is very, very common. In India, still is diarrhea, gastrointestinal disease. But from future point of view, what we will be seeing is heart disease, depression, diabetes will become very, very important. And maybe perhaps one of the moves which was talking about, Dr. Raji was talking, setting up a center for diabetes become very, very important. We have been part of giving dimension to the diabetes market in this country with insulins, and that's the area which will become very, very important going forward. It is disease syndrome which will become very important in times to come. In diabetes, we have got at the moment 61 million patients, will go to 101 million. Although it's not right to say, but India is the diabetes capital of the world. Hypertension, 130 million, going to 240 million. Cardiac deaths, 9 to 18 million. It is not only diabetes, but the more important thing is how diabetes is treated in this country. If I start comparing some of the data which is available as far as Indian market is concerned, if we look global market, in developed market, diagnosis from prevalence is 70%. But in India, the issue is diagnosis itself of diabetes. Most of the time, we realize that we are suffering from diabetes when we go for medical checkups. In rural areas, smaller cities, it is not there. When we started in diabetes business in 1993 with insulins, we used to call at that time, it is only rich man disease, the incidence was only 2 to 3%. But today, there may not be any person sitting here who does not know diabetic patient in the family. We are talking of incidence of around 8 to 10%, and in some cases, as high as 14%. But the issue is, first is the biggest issue is, how do you diagnose disease and how do you comply with this disease? And that's why there are a lot of healthcare models which are emerging, which has to focus more on diagnosis as well as compliance of disease, because the biggest issue in this country is compliance. And if the compliance is not right, it will add to the cost of the disease, because there are chances of foot amputation, there are chances of eye failure, there are chances of heart disease. So it becomes very, very important that how do you improve the compliance, and what Porter is talking about, and I will talk about the future healthcare models where he's talking of integrated practice units, which become very, very important. And India having the advantage of IT and robust healthcare infrastructure, it is just looking at the value chain which will make fundamental difference the way we treat every patient. Going forward, if we look at the moment, what's the fundamental issue as far as country is concerned? Have got the access to healthcare. The issue is not availability of medicine, issue is availability of infrastructure and the governance of that infrastructure which is there. 60% of the rural population has to travel more than 5 kilometers. There are 0.71 doctors per 1,000 population compared to 0.83. Bed density is low. Now, these are known facts. Last year, we released a report with IMS we are under discussion with Planning Commission. How do we improve and address this issue? And fundamentally, what is very, very important is taking care of governance structure. This institute is doing a lot of work because that is fundamental to take the access of healthcare to wider masses. As far as healthcare pharma industry is concerned, I will talk about different segments, the way we are looking at the industry and how this industry has evolved over a period of time. Simple way of segmenting this industry, and all these four sectors have played a very, very important role. We have got formulations, the most competitive industry in the world, 10,000 formulations, 80,000 packs, 60 therapy areas. There is no other part of the world where the pharmaceutical products is as economical as in India. We, on an average, our prices are 1/25th or 1/10th of any part in the world. So in formulation business, we have played a very, very important role. A lot of work in contract research and manufacturing organization, CRAMS, as we call it, Jubilant, Piramal organization. We are exporters to the world. Like say, if I see US, every third tablet which is emanating from India. So a lot of work which has, there are specialized organizations which are only contract research and manufacturing organizations. APIs, we have become very big player in the world, and the companies like Heathrow, they are focusing only on active pharmaceutical ingredients. So there are companies which are concentrating on API business. And exports, yes, in pharma export is a big thing. We supply to all the countries in the world, and export from India is around $14 billion, as big as domestic market. So these are four primary segments, and there are different business models which every company is employing. Many of the companies, like Lupin, Dr. Reddy's son, they started at formulations, now getting into exports. Many of the companies, like Heathrow, started as API, focusing on API exports. There are companies, Jubilant, which started at contract manufacturing. Many of the companies are complying or combining various business models. There's alliance and acquisition becoming a big thing. There's not a day in the paper where alliance and acquisition will not be talked. And we will see over a period of time, this is just the beginning, we will see tremendous alliance, acquisition, and partnerships which are taking place as far as this industry is concerned. And what I've tried to do here is just to put this whole game on two axes. One is alliance, partnership, acquisition, and both for domestic and global market. What was said and done when I started around 30 years back in this industry, yes, India was a very small player. It is global companies which used to dominate the market. But today, in any forum in the healthcare industry, pharma industry, India's voice is heard. So there is acquisition model, which is what Abbott Piramal, biggest acquisition in recent times, Sun Ranbaxy, Reckitt Paras, Fresenius, and Dabur. Global market, Sanofi has bought Shanta Biotech for vaccination business globally, majorly. Hospira has bought Orchid for API capability, and Mylan has bought Matrix and Strides, again building API capability for global markets. There are partnerships, Bayer Zydus, Lilly Lupin, Novartis USP, Novartis Abbott. So there are partnerships which are happening to capitalize on the opportunity and offer better access. And there are global opportunities which are thought Indian companies and multinationals are entering into collaboration to utilize research capabilities. In fact, Glenmark is being used by Sanofi for developed molecules for the world market. So you see a lot of partnerships, and this is a hot area where a lot of partnerships are emerging. In the Indian sector, for a domestic market, also there are different kind of business models which are emerging. There is no one size fits all. And this is a classical example of where differentiated business models employing sound business sense which are being employed. There are niche therapy companies which focus on particular therapy areas. Sun started only on chronic therapy areas, which is diabetes, mental diseases. USPP started chronic therapy areas. Allergan is a company which talks only of eye disorders. Again, Abbott has a wing. Along with Novo Nordisk, we deal with diabetes. There are diversified approach which the companies are taking. You are there everywhere because you are very, very big. And Abbott is a classical thing, which is not only in the pharmaceutical, it is leading healthcare company. Whether it is stent business, we are #1 in the stent. Whether it's nutrition business, we are #1 in the nutrition business. Whether it is eye care business, we are #1 in the world in that area because we think integrated healthcare model is important from future point of view. Abbott and Johnson & Johnson believe in diversified healthcare model. We have got research-based companies, which is MST, and we have got geographic-based companies, Like Harish, they are concentrating on selected markets. And lastly, there are companies which only deliver cost-based healthcare, which is Mankind. India is the innovation hub of the world, can be the innovation hub of the world. Unfortunately, has been impacted because of the government policy. And the classical thing is the greatest advantage which we have in this country is entrepreneurial culture, experimentation.